Okay, guys. First of all, huge congratulations on the 45th anniversary of The Young Doctors. You're here with Karen and Aly from the Monday Motivation Show at IPL Radio.
Good morning. Hello and welcome.
And we are going to try and get around everybody. In fact, we will get around everybody. But we have some questions and things like that for you guys. But we want you just to be open and share with everyone. Like, it's a celebration of the Young Doctors and the cast reunion. And the whole theme of today is celebration. And just for anybody watching at home, if you haven't checked out The Young Doctors, my goodness, I'm like
you've been living under a rock. That's all I can say.
I've been revisiting
Australia.
Yeah, I've been revisiting it, and it's just really it's just amazing viewing, and just getting back to the soul and the heart and the romance of the show is just fabulous. And the first episode went to air on the 8th of November 1976. Like, that is a long time ago. I wasn't born, I have to admit.
Unfortunately, I was
77.
But I remember growing up watching it, and I thought it was absolutely incredible. And I'll just share a secret. My husband is so excited that I'm here today with you guys, because his mother lived and breathed The Young Doctors. So it's a privilege to be with you today.
Aly is your number one fan here, cheering on. How beautiful would it be if we had a resurgence of everybody streaming and watching The Young Doctors, bringing us back to the amazing, the amazing culture of it. And I know we had an interview a few weeks past with two of the cast, but it's so exciting to have you guys all here. And we just want to get to know you all first. So if we can go around the room, and I'm going to start with Anna and then Karen and Joe, and we'll go around the room that way. And if you can just share who you were, and for about a minute, what you, what was your best takeaway from the show?
Oh, okay. Well, I played Sandy Gordon, and this was my first experience of being Rick Herbert's romantic partner, which we've done several times since in other shows. I was only 16 when I did it, so it was exciting for me. It was my first kind of. I'd done quite a lot of work before that because I started acting as a kid. But it was my first experience in soap opera, and I was only in it for a few months, but it was a lovely storyline with Mark Hembrow and the drama of Rick's character being put into a wheelchair and us getting married. We actually got married and everything at 16, and and it was great. Actually, I was talking to my brother last night, who he's a cameraman now. But he started his crew life as on The Young Doctors. And he was talking about so many of the crew guys from there have. David Lee started there, who's an Oscar-winning audio guy, one best sound for Matrix, The Matrix. And he was listing all these crew guys who started their first jobs in construction and standby props, and they've all gone on to be, or many of them have gone on to be really significant, hugely successful and wonderful crew guys. So it was a real learning ground for many of us, and I was only 16 myself, as I said. So it was a real experience for me to get that fast. It's so fast, of course, soap opera. You get those scripts, 1 week, and you're doing 5 days worth of shows in however long it is, and it's a very different process to working on other kinds of television or film or stage.
Amazing, Anna. So you were married at 16, hey? Married at 16. There we go.
I've got one quick question. When you joined that show as such a young girl, what impact did that have on your family and your friends? Because it must have been huge.
Oh, on my family and friends. Well, I tell you one impact it had on me. I was in year 12, my final year of high school, and I was spending a lot of time away from school because I was filming. And I got called into the principal's office one day to say, "You're missing too much school, and this is your last year of school, and you'll have to make a decision. Do you want to keep working on this show, or do you want to be a proper educated young woman. And I said, well, I'm an actress. Like I've been acting for years. At 16 years old, I've been acting for years, and so no, I'll continue to be an actress. Thank you very much. Yep. And I believe I can do both. And he said, well, I don't believe you can, so can you please gather your things and leave the premises? So
oh my goodness.
So that was the impact it had on me, to be honest.
Can you imagine the scandal these days that would be? Hey?
Yeah. Wow.
So are you saying you never graduated?
No, I am in fact an uneducated individual. That's correct.
Oh, he's magnetic, an absolutely magnetic.
I do make me a smarter person, unindoctrinated.
Oh yeah,
bravo.
Unindoctrinated. We can go with that.
What an education you had in itself there,
Anna. We love getting to know you more, and I believe we chatted with you a few weeks back on this show. Amazing to talk to you, and your daughter, I believe, as well. Karen, could we hear from you, please, and who you were and a little bit about your time there?
Yes, I belong into collection 2 because I don't come in until episode 333.
Oh, that's a good number.
And I'm turning around to the wonderful Dr. Raymond show, the wonderful Alfred Sander, and I'm saying, hey, you are supposed to be my father. Commercial break. So then, important for me is because I have never seen the Young Doctors. Because when I was working on it, I was either still in the studio or on my way home, or I was with Annie Lucas in Betty Quinn's flat, and we were learning lines with her, weren't we, Annie? So I've never seen it, and now I thought there's 2 things I never get in my lifetime. One was the fall of the Berlin Wall, and the second, that Young Doctors would ever be released on DVD. Now, the wall fell. I was on top of the Brandenburg Gate when it fell.
Wow.
And now I'm saying, hey, if collection 2 does not get released, and this is a once 250 episode, I still won't be getting my second wish. So I'm wishing for my birthday, release collection 2 and the rest of it all. And it's so wonderful to have you here. Darren again, thank you.
Well done. I agree. I think they need to get that released ASAP because there's a lot of people, including myself out there, who would love to see it. Bring it on.
My 54-year-old son started watching this, and he is now absolutely hooked. He said, it's fun, it's moving, it's great. And then he suddenly goes, oh, I saw that set behind shake. Why did it shake? So I had to explain him about our wonderful studio. So he's hooked.
It's addictive. Let's be honest here. It is addictive. That's why, was it, I'm just trying to recall, and somebody can correct me here. Was it 1,397 episodes?
Yep.
yes.
Wow.
That's addiction.
But wow, like the time it would take to film all that, it's just phenomenal whenever
Incredible.
You think about it, like all of those episodes. Amazing. Karen, we got to, start that campaign online to make that happen. Be the voice of that campaign to make that happen.
Yeah.
I shouted out loud all over the world, in the UK. Thank you, you people in UK. You have been so wonderful. I was not aware how successful it was in the UK.
Huge, absolutely huge when I was growing up, like massive. I think, we had the Home and Away and the Neighbours after, but this was absolutely magnificent. It was a huge magnitude across the UK. So, yeah, I think it'd be very exciting to get that out there again.
I found out by being there because I immigrated here in 1966, came out as a 16-year-old German Deutschmark migrant who couldn't speak English. So I went to see my brother who lives in Germany, and I hadn't seen him since 1966. And he said, look, I'm going on holidays, come with me to the Canary Islands, and we go there. So we did, and he sort of said, what have you been doing? I said, well, I'm an actress. And he went, oh, yeah, hey, yes, you are. And at that stage, a family came in to the restaurant, and they were English, and they were being seated next to us. And suddenly I noticed that somebody was looking across, and I heard this Is that her? Nah, it is. I think it's Erica. And I'm thinking, I'm in Patalavaca on the Canary Islands, and I'm hearing an English voice saying, this is Erica. So we went and joined them and talked to them, and they were telling me how wonderful. And I just turned around to my brother, and my brother said, okay, you are an actress.
Yeah,
Made him eat his words. Good on you. That's brothers for you.
oh, I love it. And you got married on the show, did you?
Yes, first being his daughter, which was not happening, but then Dr. Susan Richards, the lovely Judy, suddenly I had a German accent, she had an American accent, but we turned out suddenly to be half sisters. Hello, sister. And then the younger woman decided then after cold feet for a while, yes, Raymond, I love you. And we had this wonderful wedding. And and one fan from the UK who's now following the Facebook DVD, Young Doctors on DVD, and has been watching things, he actually said, oh, Erica, when you marry Raymond later on, just watch what he's doing right now. He's just he's horrible. He's having all these women. So think twice whether you really want to marry him.
There we go. You get away with it now in the shows, though, don't you? You know, the viewers weren't asking any questions. They just went along with it. It's fabulous. Karen, thank you. Yeah, amazing. We will come back to you, Karen. Thank you. But can we move over to Joe, please? Hello, Joe. You were Nurse Jill Jordan.
Hi, Joe.
Jill Gordon, yes. Very good nurse. She was fantastic.
You were the daughter of Helen Gordon.
Yes, that's right. The beautiful Lynn James.
Yes, amazing.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your time on the show and what really...
it was such a great time. I guess the thing that I've taken away from it is great friendships, you know, that I still see people, we still talk, and it was a fantastic time. I enjoyed every minute of it. Sometimes it was really hard, like 5 eps a week was tough with all the lines. It's amazing how your mind just slips into that and you learn to do it really quickly. Now I can't remember much about them at all. All those things, you know, all the storylines, and because it was a long time. I think I was there for about 2.5 years.
And that was going to be one of my questions, actually, with regard to your filming schedule. Did you find it punishing or was it joyful? What were your memories from that time?
Oh, totally joyful. It really was. I do remember that at one stage the studio flooded. And we had to get from, do you remember that? We had to get from the wardrobe room, dear Roby, the wardrobe, Roby Buckley, she was gorgeous. We had to put on gumboots and to trudge through to get to the studio from the wardrobe room because the whole place just flooded.
We're imagining, we're trying to picture that in our minds. Is this with your nurses' uniforms on and your doctor's uniforms on?
Yes. Yeah.
You just get on with
it.
No room for divas on the show.
Every time it rained.
No room for divas. No. And the way we shot it was really, you know, we had an outside broadcast van that was in the parking lot, and beside that the edit van. So really, as we shot it, it was all edited and put into place. The only thing that they had to do with it when they went back to Channel 9 was to put the top and the tail on it, so that you get the and all the stuff on it. But really, as we shot, it was edited and all in place.
That is amazing insight, isn't it? It's very productive.
Gumboots.
It was really productive, gumboots and all, yeah. And Rusty, the stage, you remember Rusty backstage?
Yes.
He was so cool.
Most definitely.
Awesome crew of people. And we were young and we just did it, not a problem. We'd work all day, party at night, come back the next morning and work all day.
Oh, the rhythm of it all. The rhythm of it all.
Pioneers.
Karen and I were just looking at each other with a glint in our eye when you said partying all night.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have been part of that party, I think.
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone was an absolute family. Did you imagine then that 45 years later you would be having a reunion, you know?
Amazing.
And that the Young Doctors is still being celebrated. I think it's amazing and an amazing Australian icon. Thank you so much, Joe. We will come back to you. I'm trying to move through because we're going to have a performance, I believe, halfway through, and we're kind of stalling the ball. As we do. Ali and I get chatting. Diana, how are you going? You were Sister Vivian Jeffries.
Yes, long time ago.
That's what we're here for, Diana. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience on the show?
I'd just come back from overseas. I'd been living in England for a couple of years then. I consequently went back in the 80s and they're on and off for about 16 years. But I had just come back from my first living in London, and I walked into the part of Vivian Jeffries, who seemed to spend her time drinking whiskey and having affairs.
What a character to have.
That would be a fun character, isn't it? And of course, nowhere near your real life you, Diana.
No, of course not. No.
We love it. I'm sure, was it grueling days? How long were the days on set, Diana, for you?
I can't really remember. I think you started quite early sometimes. I lived just down the road from it, so it was convenient for me. You know, we had some interesting. Our makeup lady, Pat, was what's his name, from Excess's mother.
Michael
Hutchins.
Pat Hutchins. Yeah.
Pat Hutchinson.
But
Yeah.
sorry,
Pat
we had
Hutchinson.
Christmas parties before they got famous. We didn't think they were very good.
That's hilarious. That's brilliant.
He used to sit in the makeup room, remember? He'd come in and sit there sometimes.
Oh, really? Oh, my God. Isn't that?
I love the insight. The insight.
Pat would complain because they were in the garage rehearsing, and she would say the noise was all a bit too much.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing,
isn't it? You look back and you think, wow, to what happens then and how people break through. Amazing. Yeah. Amazing, Diana. And thank you so much. We will be back to you, but we're going to move over to Judy Lynn. How are you going, Judy?
Extremely well. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. And can you share with everyone your character and what your experience was like in the show?
Yes, certainly. Well, Dr. Susan Richards. I can't remember very many female doctors on the show, but I'm sure there were others. I was very happy to hear Diane say it's hard to remember, because I just rack my brain now, and things are hard to remember. I do, first of all, the cast was lovely, and at that time I was also doing the weather on Channel 9, and I was doing reporting for Current Affairs. So I remember being very, very busy, always running.
Multitasking.
But when I look back over that time, it was the Young Doctors that stole my heart. I only have incredibly happy memories, fond memories. And I loved it. And also what Karen said is, in England, when I went over to England years later, I mean, I even, left television and was married and went over to England, I couldn't believe the people that mentioned the show and how people would stare at me. And I remember, going to a dinner party one night, and there must have been 10 people there. And we were all talking, and this lady was just staring. And she finally said, "You know who you remind me of?" And I said, "No, who?" And she said, "Dr. Susan Richards on the Young Doctors." And I just looked at her and I said, "Oh." I said, "Oh, yeah, well, that's me." Well, I thought she was going to have a heart attack. I mean, she lit her pants.
Amazing.
Couldn't believe that, And the other thing that I thought was so funny was people would come up to me and start talking as if they knew me, and they would talk as if they realized it was a show and that I was an actress, and I played Dr. Susan Richards, and then I get a weird question like, do you know the? I remember a nurse asking me this. Do you know the building that all the nurses lived in? And I said, yeah. I mean, she said, how does one get a room there? And I said, what do you mean? And she said, well, I'm going to be leaving my flat, and I'd love to go over there, And I realized how they mix your character and your personal life with
absolutely. Judy, let me rejig your memory here. It says here in our sheet, it says that you had countless failed romances, was blackmailed, received threatening letters, involved in a hit and run incident, and often found yourself in trouble for spending too much time with patients. Is that right?
Right. I remember about half of it. My first love affair I remember on the shows was with Tony Garcia. And of course, he's passed away from cancer, which really sort of hit me when you start to realize you're getting older and things like that. Let's see. One of the other things I remember is we did start quite early, because I often had to be in the studio at 5 to start shooting at about 7. And at 5 a.m, I'd grab something to eat, and then we'd go to the studio. And the canteen was just off the studio, and they as you came into the studio, there was the canteen, and they would start cooking. And I just remember being so hungry all morning, trying to remember lines and everything, and I just couldn't wait till the 10:30 break so I could get something to eat. I mean, funny little memories like that.
Absolutely. Did you live close to set, or did you have to travel, or what was that like for you?
Yeah, I'm trying to I'm trying to remember now. I don't think I did. I think I lived about a 25-minute drive away.
Goodness, that's not bad, hey, at all. Amazing.
It is at 5 a.m.
Yeah. Oh yes, a wake-up call. Thank goodness for makeup artists and hair people. Hey,
Yeah.
Right. That's exactly.
Judy, amazing.
One of the interesting things is I had somebody call me, not recently, but after I left the show, and ask me what it was like working with Russell Crowe. And I said, what do you mean? And it turns out that he was one of my patients when he was 13. It was one of his very, very first television.
Oh my goodness, how incredible.
Television debut as your
And I
patient.
had an argument about him with Tim Page because he was the head doctor, and he didn't like me spending so much time with Russell Crowe's character. And it's on YouTube now. So my husband gets great delight in saying to Peter to look me up when I was 23 years old as opposed to now.
Oh, amazing. We're going to have to go and check that one out, everyone. We'll put a link somewhere underneath this recording so people check that out. Thank you so much, Judy. It's lovely to get to know you better.
Thank you.
Rick, how you going? Can you unmute for us?
I am, and I have. I'm really well, thank you.
That is wonderful. And you played Roger Gordon, who is the son of Secretary Helen Gordon and brother
That's right.
of Nurse Jill Gordon.
Yes, indeed.
And you were a musician who joined the pop group Georgie Saint and the Sinners.
Oh, yes, but hang on a minute. Before that, I was the recalcitrant young man who was the most likely guy to knock over the local petrol station, and apparently I did.
Oh,
There you go.
I look at his face. Is this the right like that?
We would never say that.
No, never. Butter wouldn't melt in my mouth. Anyway, but that's where he started. I was on for 2 weeks. I actually got to go on 4 times over maybe 18 months or so. That's where Joey and I first met, and I got to marry Anna for the first time. Yes, there were other times that Anna and I married. You got me? You can hear me, can't you? Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
So yeah, and then we came suddenly. So I was the recalcitrant young man, and then just saved from going to prison. And then here's the story. I was walking along in Australia at that time. I was very young, and it was hard to find work as an actor. It still is. But I was selling ice creams on Bondi Beach. Walking along Bondi Beach selling ice creams because I need to eat, right?
Oh, my goodness.
And Kerry Spence, the casting lady, said, Rick Herbert. And I turned and looked at her and I went, oh, hi, Kerry. She said, you're selling ice creams? I said, well, yeah, guys, got to eat. And she went, okay. Anyway, 4 weeks later, I got invited back onto the Young Doctors. And I'm pretty sure it was because I met Kerry on the beach.
Isn't that amazing? What an incredible story.
Extraordinary. So, and I got
selling ice creams on Bondi Beach doesn't sound like a bad job to me, to be honest.
Well,
You know?
yeah, there are probably worse jobs in the world. Yeah.
Rick, I still have your amplifier, mate. I've still got your PD Encore amplifier. It's right underneath this computer.
Oh, wonderful, Robert. You're still playing music?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. This is my look. It's all here, mate. In the
you're in the studio. Brilliant. In the cupboard.
It's a kind of studio. Yeah. In the not broom cupboard, but yeah.
Wonderful. And then I got back. Thank you, Robert. And then I got back to came back as the guitarist in Georgie Saint and Sinners, and that was about the time I took up playing the guitar, because it would be a good idea, wouldn't it?
Of course.
Right?
How did you get cast? If you know, for that?
Originally, actually, Anna's mother was my agent. Anna's mother. Yeah, Joy Ruby was my agent, and she put me up for the role of the mismanaged or misguided teenager, and I got it. And so I spent those 2 weeks, and then somehow came back as a guitarist in a band, and then somehow came back and had an accident, became wheelchair bound. And then got married as well. So a lot happens in a very short time on the Young Doctors.
Oh my goodness, that is incredible. A lot does seem to happen in a short space of time with Young Doctors.
So epic is that what we will call your stint on the show, Rick? Enjoyable and epic.
Oh, it was wonderful. The cast were wonderful. We still talk to each other, and we still hold each other dear, which I think is wonderful.
Yeah.
And the crew were an incredible group of people, and of course, the writers, the music of the show. Brian's here as well, and it was a family, and it was a wonderful thing to be part of, I think.
Do you know what's incredible? I did a little bit of research, and I learnt this morning that in its whole time there were over 2,000 cast members.
Wow.
That's incredible.
It's extraordinary, isn't it?
It is extraordinary. So good on you, because clearly you were very popular indeed, all of you, and you still look amazing to this day.
Amazing.
Oh, stop it.
You're just going to stuck that in there, aren't you?
Well, you haven't told me about jowls.
Lovely to see you all.
Thank you.
And to everybody out there who watched and who supported us, thank you so much. Honestly, thank you.
Yeah. And who continue to watch now.
You just took the words out of my mouth. And can't wait until the whole thing comes on DVD.
I think there is a box set I seen this morning, but I think series 2 or something we're waiting on. Amazing, Rick. Thank you so much. We will come back to you. We've got, it says Ian Bradley here, but who is hiding behind there we go. Can you share with us your character?
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't look like Ian anymore at all.
It is so lovely to have you here. Can you share with us about your character and what your takeaways were from the show?
Well, I played Eve Turner.
Yes.
The senior sisters. And Di's character was my friend, and Judy's character. Yes. And Eve came in really basically to marry Tim, to marry Dr. Steele. That was why she was introduced into the show. But she was a very independent, funny lady.
Tim's face is smiling there, and definitely agreeing.
Yes, we used to have wonderful arguments, our two characters. They were really great. Ian actually created my character. He was only a storyliner and script editor, so he couldn't actually cast me, but I think the script department were behind it. And that's how I got cast, really. So he said he based Eve on me, but she was a lot smarter and a lot wittier than I am. Yeah.
We all got that, didn't we? I wish I speak.
I didn't catch that.
We didn't catch that, Diana.
I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to speak over people, am I?
No, please.
I just said the lines were always quite clever, and you think, oh, I wish I'd said that.
Hey, Anne, Diana wanted your lines, the witty ones.
Yeah, well, that's true. I had some really good lines. But it was lovely working with everybody, and it was lovely working with Tim, because we used to play canasta a lot. Do you remember that, Timmy?
Yep. And go.
Yes. I remember Go.
A lot of television is just sitting around. Honestly, it all sounds terribly glamorous and everything. But most of the time, you're sitting around waiting for your scene.
But you'll make it look so glamorous.
So Tim and I used to play canasta in the canteen, and he always won. Always. He's a very good card player.
Tim, we want to know your tricks when we get to you.
Don't remember that.
People have been reminding me of so many things. You know, Rick, why you landed in a wheelchair? I mean, being married to Ian, I married later.
Yes.
I knew a lot about the storylines and why they were made. And the reason that your character landed in a wheelchair is because young doctors the script department used to get queries from people like the kidney disease people, which is why, Tim, you became, weren't you sort of childhood kidney specialist or something?
Arthritis. Rheumatoid arthritis. Yeah.
Rheumatoid, yeah, it was something like that. Anyway, that was a request from those people to give some profile to these various things, and the wheelchair thing was you slipped and fell by a swimming pool, cracked your head on the side, and the swimming pool safety people were trying to get a campaign going to stop kids from running around wet swimming pools and falling over and cracking their heads and their spines and becoming paraplegic. So that's why. But then they allowed you to walk again afterwards.
Isn't that amazing that the public got to influence the storyline and how the characters developed? I just love it. And just for anyone watching, the reason why Anne's name is Ian Bradley, because you went on to marry Ian Bradley, didn't you?
Yeah. And this is his computer because it's the only one in the mic.
We love it.
It's got to be done.
Thank you for the behind the scenes insight there, and that was amazing. Thank you. We're going to move on to Mark Holden, who was Dr. Greg Mason. Am I saying that right, Mark?
That's it. That's exactly right.
And it says here that you were involved in countless failed romances. Can you please enlighten us?
Well, I can't really remember what I did, to be perfectly honest, but I do. Some of the stories are reminding me that we did turn up having partied all night. I remember Joe. That's a very true story. I used to have a cab driver who would wake me up and get me to the set, and I'd be asleep in getting my makeup done. And then the cameras would roll, and if you got your words out more or less right, they'd just go thank you and keep moving. That's what I remember. But I do remember that my two people that I remember the most was the beautiful Gwenny Plum. I don't know whether anyone else knows. I just loved her so much, and as a young man coming into that environment, she was just blissful, and of course Horny Corny, you know, Cornelia was fabulous as well. So, pardon?
Horny Corny.
Horny Corny.
Oh, we're going there.
God bless Corny.
Yeah,
I loved Corny, and I loved Gwenny Plum, and then I went off for a while, and I came back as a plastic surgeon, I think, in my second coming on
Yes,
on
it
the
says
Young
that
Doctors.
you came back to build up the show's 1000th episode. Amazing. I'm reading here that by day you would be filming The Young Doctors, and by night you would be starring in the stage musical Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Like, how did you do that?
True.
Like, that's a lot of energy, is it not?
Yeah, we were just we had the energy of youth. I mean, and I would play cards all night with John Paul Young and a guy called Joe Dicker who was in.
Joe.
Do you remember Joe?
Yes, of course.
We'd go to Joe's. Carol, I think his wife was his name, and Carol would have. Sandwiches for us, and we'd smoke joints, drink beer, and play cards till about 4 a.m. I'd get an hour or so sleep and turn up on the set. And people ask why I didn't have an acting career. I think that's the answer right there.
Amazing. And I have to say that you were a judge on Australian Idol and a celebrity contestant on Dancing with the Stars. Like, how cool is that?
Yes.
So fun, so fun.
It was, yes, and sadly they didn't invite me back for the All Stars. I can't understand why.
What is that all about? That is so not okay. So your time on the show, Mark,
yes,
fun. As you know, we heard Anne say that there would be a lot of time in between when you're waiting. Does that mean that the cast who were cast for that day or that show just got more connected because you had time to get to know each other and things like that?
Yeah, and we did hang out after the show and have a drink down the road. I mean, it was one of the things that I found extraordinary when I think back on it was that Reg Grundy had the insight and wisdom to buy that physical place where we made the show and construct that out of really nothing. And it's just those early pioneers, the Hector Crawfords and the Reg Grundys, you just got to go, well, they were truly amazing people, really. And we owe a lot of a big, huge debt to the Reg Grundys of the world, even though they didn't pay us any residuals. Never once. Did anyone else get a residual? Did anyone else get a residual?
Nope, I got a residual. I got $1.59. $1.39. I remember it.
Now there's the precedent.
Yeah,
yes, there you go.
Like 8 years later, and I just went, what?
Amazing.
Well, that's $1.30. That's $1.39 more than I got.
Me too.
Mind you.
Residuals didn't come in until 83, I think, in Australia.
There we go. See the amazing. Thank you so much, Mark, for that insight. That's amazing, and congratulations to all of you. You're all doing amazing, amazing work. Incredible. Joanna, you were Laura Denham, and it says here that you were a bored and lonely wife of the workaholic Dr. Brian Denham.
Yes,
Tell
that's
us
right.
about this, Joanna.
How did I find it all, did you say?
Yes, please. How did you find being on the show, and what do you want to share?
It was great fun. I mean, it was a wonderful cast, a friendly, warm cast, quite daunting to come into a leading role. I'd done a lot of theatre beforehand, both in England and here, and a bit of television, but not so a lead role was daunting. I'd actually auditioned with Michael Beach, who played Dr. Denham, so it was interesting that they must have thought we looked good together. So, no, it was an amazing experience. It was very full on. I had a small child at the time. I was married with a small child who was about 18 months when I started. So it was a lot of, juggling care for him. And so sometimes you had to be there really early, and I had to get childcare and all of that. So it was yeah, all in all, a great experience. I had a lot of fun. I mean, my character went through a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah, it says here that you had you got a mysterious disease which caused you to have dramatic and unexpected mood swings, and also led you to become a shoplifter.
I remember that.
So the bored housewife thing didn't stay around for long, hey?
So I can tell you that when you're playing a shoplifter on television, when it goes out 5 nights a week and you want to go and do some shopping, it can be incredibly embarrassing because all the shop assistants, just staring at you and suddenly feeling terribly awkward when you're in a shop and wanting to get out as quickly as possible. So,
the two worlds collide, hey, Joanna?
What was that?
When the two worlds collide. With the being on the television, your actress. Yeah.
Yes. People got confused between your life and your character. And
I think they did get confused, yes, because, probably we do if we see somebody on television and, we're convinced by what's happening in their lives. You do think, people think that you're like that. So, but also I went through this enormous character change and I got bitten by a patient, that was right. I became a nurse and got bitten by a patient and then had a terrible disease, and that changed my character. So that was all very interesting. And suddenly, Laura became quite aggressive and difficult. But look, it was fun. It was fun and challenging, and kept me on my toes. You never quite knew till you got the script sort of what was going to happen. And then I ended up, I don't know what I should say because people might still be watching, but anyway, I kind of eloped to Spain. And then when they brought me back into it, somewhat mysteriously, I'm a social worker. So that was interesting, and I rather enjoyed being a social worker. So I was one of those ladies pink ladies, and then I was a nurse, and then I was a social worker. And of course, I was Dr. Denham's wife for a while. So.
Yes. You were kept on your toes, Joanna. Amazing.
Yes.
Amazing. How long were you on the show for, Joanna?
Well, it was about 16 or 7 months, the first block, and then on and off until 1980, shortly after I started studying law. So it was 4 years altogether, but the intense part was the first kind of 18 months. When that was very intense with the young son, and but lots of fun.
So you did the whole mompreneur thing. Me and Aly both know about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. So,
balancing a young family and holding it all together, and it can't be easy, especially with such an iconic role on such an incredible show. Yeah. So hard to do.
Yeah.
Yes, it was a bit of juggling of everything, but I remember my mother was in England. And I don't remember this scene because I've been watching it. I think it might have been cut. But my mother is watching television at home in England with my stepfather, and suddenly she looks up and it's a promo for young doctors, and I'm in bed with a man. So she got quite shocked suddenly seeing her daughter. So that was a scene with Craig Rothwell. The lovely John Walton, who left us far too soon, and he was gorgeous to work with. But I remember particularly that scene because Rusty was the stage manager. It was right in the beginning of the show, and I was really very fully clothed in bed, but anyway, so you didn't see much. And Rusty just as he was saying go, he walked back and tripped over the wire. And I'm one of those people who laughs, who giggles very easily. So it was very, very difficult to keep a straight face seeing him, falling over the wires. So it was hilarious. That scene is stuck in my mind somehow. But no, it was all great fun.
Oh, wonderful, Joanna. Thank you so much. We're going to move over to Louise Howarth, who was Nurse Deborah Kendall. Louisa says you were a spoilt rich girl who was more interested in the social scene than a career. Can you share with us a little bit about that?
Oh, and that's continued, basically.
We love it.
Woman after our own hearts.
What is it? What's that phrase? I've been trying to think of it. Life mimics art.
Oh, there we go.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Life imitates art.
Sorry?
Life imitates art.
That's it. That's it. Yes, no, she was, I think in my career, I think that she was the most interesting and fun to play. You know, I mean, she was great, Deborah Kendall. I don't think Robert Colby's character would agree, but no, look, it was just great. It was so much fun. And as someone said, I think Joanne, that you never knew what was going to happen in the script. You know, you get your script and you think, oh, okay, right, we're doing this. And you know, it was a lot of fun from that point of view too, you know, and camaraderie. It was just terrific. I remember Joey, one day Roby had me dressed up in this, it was sort of like fluff and it was really not Deborah, because Deborah was, I think, quite a classy lady, but it was just a little on the common side. And I remember, Joey, I went to you and I said, I'm so worried about this thing that I've got to wear. And you gorgeous thing, whisked me into Alan Coleman's, you know, into the van. And within a minute, we had it sorted. So, thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful story.
My pleasure. What a wonderful man, Alan Coleman.
Oh, was he great?
He
Was
was
awesome.
just fantastic.
Awesome.
The head of the captain of the ship, and the reason I think the morale was so high a lot of the time, and we got through it the way we did was because of darling Alan Coleman.
Totally.
I agree.
Yeah, we
And
always.
you too, you know. I kept seeing him, and most of us kept seeing him all through the years before his untimely passing. So yeah. Gorgeous.
Yeah, so everybody speaks so highly of him. Everybody always does, and amazing that you guys got to work so closely and to be guided through it. Like I'm sure the show wouldn't have been what it was if it hadn't have been for him. Amazing.
No.
Thank you so much, Louise.
No.
Tim, how are you going? You were Dr. Graham Steele, and you were in the very first episode. Hey?
Yes, yeah, right through, and the last.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah, it was an interesting journey.
Yeah, you weren't on every one of the 1,000 and what is it?
1,397, I think.
Wow. So I took some breaks, but I was brought back for the finale because Alfred was so sick, I think, and they were going to make him the head of the hospital, but his health wasn't up to it, so they said, "Oh, he's around. We'll grab Tim and sort of be back as superintendent of the Albert Memorial to close it down."
Yeah, it says here that you were running the whole hospital as a medical superintendent before it eventually closed down.
A rocket ship launched into a career because, he started off as an intern and ends up as a superintendent all in 7 years, which is pretty amazing.
Wow.
It is amazing.
That's some career path.
Isn't it? Tim, you would have seen it all then. You would have seen and experienced it all.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. And it was great fun. And as everyone says, I think as an actor, it was also the variety of stories that you had to sort of try and get your head around and your character into this strange storyline and work out how to do it technically, you know, and with help from Alan and everybody, as a new cast, of course, was supportive and all that too. But you got a great variety of scenes to play, and that's very challenging and great for an actor to stretch that variety of
It is. You're going to be the man that I'm going to ask this question to. Can you imagine if the hospital was now in COVID times? You know, the romance wouldn't be the same, would it?
Oh,
It wouldn't be the same these days, would it? You know?
very interesting.
And we would miss those costumes for the nurses
Absolutely.
Very hard to do all that romancing in masks.
Head to toe, COVID gear.
Yeah.
Amazing.
An amazing journey. I loved getting married to Annie, but I hated the way they knocked her over with a truck and killed her off in the end.
So tragic.
Yes, well, there's a lot of politics behind that.
Oh,
we're going to go there, Anne.
But I got run over by a bus.
Oh, bus. Yeah, sorry.
And I offered to do the next thing. I didn't mind being run over by a bus, but because by that time I was down in Melbourne and we were making Prisoner. And so, it was difficult for them to be hauling me up every now and again to Sydney and explaining why I wasn't around all the time as Tim's wife and wanting to release him to have other girlfriends, of whom he had many girlfriends.
So they ran you over with a bus.
No, they threw her under a bus.
I love it. Is that what the whole saying came from?
And they said, I said, look, I'll come and do the death scene. That'd be good. Because I'd love to do death scene.
Fun.
They didn't even let me do a death scene. It was sad.
Oh.
I think I deserved a death scene.
Absolutely.
Everyone deserves one of those. I guess.
I had my death scene off air, like it was talked about. And I was out of the show, and it wasn't a truck with me; it was a ute or something. Anyway, so the morning after it went to air, I happened to go shopping in Woolies, and I'm pushing my trolley along, and suddenly this woman came towards me. She had a little toddler on her thing, and she stared. She stopped, and then she went, "You're supposed to be dead."
Yeah.
Did everybody die at some point? Who else died?
Nobody's getting out alive. Nobody's getting out
alive.
Right now.
Oh, we're going to move over to Judy. Judy, did you want to say
no, I was going to say, you just reminded me that I did have a love affair, but the love of my life that I was supposed to marry went off and became a priest.
Oh,
So we're talking about convoluted. You just never knew every week.
What was it?
Couldn't have seen that coming, Judy.
Right, to go into the priesthood.
Yeah.
Pardon?
People to go into the priesthood, so that's why they introduced that story.
Oh, Tim, are you making that up? Is he making that up, Anne?
Yes.
Oh, my
I think
goodness.
my favorite scene in the whole show is when Louise's character threw the bucket of water over Connie's head. That was the best ever. And Connie looked so wonderful with this bucket of water floating.
And then we just both went. I mean, she
Are
was
you okay?
marvelous. Thank you.
Amazing.
Right.
That's amazing.
Great stuff.
Well, it seems like you guys have had a ball on that show, and there's so many amazing memories. We're going to move over to who is new user. Can we get your name and what your character was?
This is Brian King. I was not the character in the show. I was the composer of the music.
You were the composer, Brian.
Yes.
Brian. I believe that you're going to be performing the tune. Hey?
Yeah, I have actually worked out a little instant version of the Young Doctors just to give everybody a musical memory.
Please share with us, Brian.
Yeah. But my story was basically that I was in the band The Executives, and we somehow got the gig to write the music for the Young Doctors, for which we were very grateful. And it was written by myself and Alan Ollerman, who was the guitar player in the band at the time.
Al.
Amazing.
Do you remember Alan?
I do. He was a neighbour, lived up in Blackheath for a while.
That's right. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, Alan passed away a few years ago.
Yes.
Yes. But yeah. So we also, I think, you guys will figure out if my memory's okay. But I think we also played in Bunny's place.
Yeah.
From time to time too. We're like the band on the show as well. So it was a great experience, the whole thing. I mean, unfortunately, I didn't get to know the cast members because I wasn't in the cast, but it was terrific. So I can play this for you if you like.
Please do, Brian. That would be such a treat for us all.
Little Young Doctors thing, just on a couple of keyboards. That's all it is.
Awesome. See, guys, a nice treat for you all.
Yes. We all look up. Yay! Very good. Very good.
Oh wow, that did bring back memories.
Thank you, Brian. That's such a treat for everyone here, but
Well,
also for everyone listening.
Well, it brings back memories for me too.
Great theme, really great theme.
Amazing.
Yeah, really, it's a great thing.
May I just
Please do, Karen. Yes. Yep.
Well, since we are on the music side of it now, and I mean this theme, since it's all happening, and every interview I hear it at night, every night, but my late soulmate David Phillips, he was a storyliner and a script writer on The Young Doctors, and sometimes during meetings he kind of went, he just made up a song. And so he made up this, the Young Doctors song. And I just like to do it very quickly with the permission of Don McLean, because we stole the music from him. So this just went like that, if I can recall it. It went, story line, working here from 9 to 5. Keeping Dr. Shaw alive with kidney transplants from a crippled nun. Storyline, Sister Jeffries goes to air, having had her 10th affair with Dr. Dennis long Chinese son. I don't understand what my producer says to me, 'cause he keeps repeating sanity, and it's only 5 to 3. He wants logic and I don't know how. Can I go home now? Storyline, use Reg Watson's crossroad tricks. Can buttocks be exposed at 6? Or is that just a little too risque? Storyline, ending episodes on cue. As Dr. Steele says, my God, you boys can't use that one today. Now I understand what my producer says to me, 'cause you don't need credibility when you're rating 33. Ada's pregnant and she's got the blues. Up your nose, eyewitness news.
Karen, you treasure. Amazing.
Fantastic.
We didn't see that coming. Well, thank you, Karen. And Brian, just finally before we move on to Suzanne, can you just tell us, did you ever anticipate that whenever you wrote that theme tune that it would be so popular and so iconic?
No, not really. I mean, I have during my career written lots of music for advertising jingles and documentary films and such. But I think The Young Doctors is, when I think about it, it's probably been the most successful. It's probably been played more times than anything else that I've ever written. So,
and of course, you get a royalty every time you hear it. Yeah.
Actually, yes, I'm sorry about all you guys with residuals, but I do get royalties.
He says laughing.
Parties in Brian's house, guys.
Musicians.
That's great, Brian. And your suit looks lovely, mate.
Maybe you can take this up after this. Thank you so much, Brian. That was a real treat. Thank you. And Karen.
Yeah.
Amazing. Suzanne, you were Sister Suzanne Gibbs, hey?
Yeah.
How'd you get to keep your real name, hey?
I didn't know how that happened. I came onto the show in the very beginning as a medical advisor. Not that we had much medical stuff at all in 6.5 years, really, compared to what we'd have to do today. And I came on as the advisor, but also as an extra.
Yes.
And then after a month, they put me on full-time cast and somehow kept my name. I don't know how that worked. But,
amazing. That was very handy, though. But also it would have crossed the lines, wouldn't it? You know, and people recognising you out of the show and things like that. It says here that you were involved in a hospital gambling syndicate, and on another occasion you were branded a thief by the kiosk attendant. Really?
It was not fun for my kids. At the beginning of the show, my children were 5 and 7.
Yeah.
And my little 5-year-old came home upset after the storyline about my gambling problem and stealing money, because the kids at school had said to her, "Your mother's a thief." So, you know, and at that age, the reality borderlines are very blurred, and they somehow knew that, you know, her mother was me, but I was also this character, so it was all mixed up. And she had a bit of a hard time there with that. And then, you know, my only affair, very disappointedly, was with Brian Denham. I was in love with him, but that didn't go anywhere. So,
Can I ask just briefly though, is you know, after you left the Young Doctors, you know, did that influence what you went into? Because you went in to study law at the University of New South Wales and have now had an equally successful career as a family law solicitor.
No, that Joan Smith. She's the
really?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes. No, I wish I had done. I don't know that I wish I had, but that sounds very. No, in the middle of Young, which is 6.5 years, I started to get into personal stuff, as you did at that age. And I decided that I wanted to study to be a counsellor, a hypnotherapist, and do energy work. So I was doing it alongside. So when it finished, I started up my own practice, and I continued that for 20 odd years. So it was a real turnaround.
That's amazing.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And you're preaching to the converted here with regard to energy, because we love working with energy. So that's amazing.
Ali and I, who are interviewing you today. Ali's actually a career coach, and I'm a publisher and an author. So there we go. That's the behind the scenes of who's interviewing you. But Suzanne, amazing. We're going to go and check you out and see what you're up to. But is there anything else you want to share?
No, not really, except just to say that I was saying to somebody the other day how amazing it was in all that 6.5 years. I don't recall anybody fighting with anybody else.
Yeah.
Was I, under the illusion everything was okay? But to me, we all seemed to care for each other and support each other and be polite and helpful, and it just was a happy place. And to have that intensity of the life we were living at that stage, but nobody was fighting or bitching or doing anything nasty. I think it's a rarity. I really.
It's probably the secret to the success of the show, I would imagine.
It would be. It would be none of the drama behind the show. It was all on the screen. There we go.
Yeah. Of it all.
Thank you, Suzanne. We're going to move on to Robert. Of course, I knew our conversation would just go longer than we anticipated.
I know.
Robert, you played Dr. Paul Barrett. Yes. And when we first met you, you turned up at Bunny's place using the name of Paul Bennett to quote for some renovation work. That's just what it says here. But everybody seems to be connected to you. Can you share about your time on the show?
Yes. Well, the Young Doctors was something that was kind of on offer, and I was also involved in a thing called Chopper Squad, which was also by Reg Grundy. And then I bought a house on the strength of it, my first house, and just about I think 24 hours before we were due to start on Chopper Squad, it got cancelled. So I had this mortgage to pay. The only way, like Rick, I had to go and kind of advertise myself as a carpenter, decorator, kind of handyman in the Mossman Daily. And so I did all these kind of weird jobs with a saw and a hammer, making pagodas for people, which I had no clue how to build, but I did them anyway. And then finally I said to my agent, look, maybe I could just play a guest role or something on the Young Doctors, since they were interested right when they started the series in using it. And they said, oh, come and see Reg Watson. So I went in to see Reg, and Reg said, so tell me what you've been doing. And I told him, that I've been working as a carpenter decorator, and he said, right, so Bunny's needs redecorating. So what we'll do is we'll get you to come in and redecorate. You redecorate Bunny's, and then you slip with a chisel and you cut your wrist, and you have to go into emergency. And when you go into emergency, you say, well, that's lucky because I missed the so-and-so tendon, which would have really plugged up that nerve. And they say, how do you know that? Oh, just something I was watching on television. It's a bit funny, and what's that really about? So it turned out that Reg said, so what you are actually, you're this famous orthopedic surgeon that's been in Switzerland, and he's killed his wife, and he's run to Australia. So he's on a run from the police. He didn't really kill his wife, but they think that he killed his wife. And so, you get sprung, and in the end, it all comes out, and you end up joining the hospital as an orthopedic surgeon. So that's really the story of the big top with Jimmy Stewart, But he worked it out on the spot in like 10 minutes, and that was the storyline that I went into the evening.
Oh, we love it. It's amazing. It's amazing. Guys, we're going to have to pop over to Chris because Chris has to go soon, and we want to just chat to him if that's okay. Chris, welcome. Can you share with us about your... Yeah, go ahead.
No, saying hi.
Yeah, can you share with us a bit about your character and your time in the show? That would be amazing.
Yeah, I was in for most of the show. I played the disorderly orderly Dennis Jamison. Gwen Plum and I were the comedy relief. The show, we were also the story carriers. So basically our characters could move right the way throughout the hospital.
Yes.
And I started as an orderly, became a nurse, and the show kept going like home and away to be a brain surgeon now.
Wow, brain surgery. That's pretty, that's a lot of responsibility. Yes, we can hear you, Chris. We can hear you loud and clear. That's amazing. A brain surgeon, hey?
Yeah, you reckon so? Yeah. Up 30 years, 45 years, yeah.
So you and Tim would have spent a lot of time together on the show, I imagine.
Actually, our characters didn't like each other, but interestingly enough, Tim and I both live on the Central Coast. Yes. Not far away from Karen and Susie, of course, and we've appeared in a couple of musicals together.
Oh, fantastic!
All connects and intertwines, and so Chris, being part of the show, what's your best memory?
Oh, I think just well, somebody said before. I think Suzanne said in all of those years, I don't recall a fight, no one fight. We were in the studio. Wasn't exactly the state of the art studio. The cameras used to turn off when it got too hot. The actors didn't. But I think just the camaraderie.
Amazing.
And I think that's, those lasting memories, as I think Joe and Rick said, the friendships is sort of like when we do Where Are They Now? It's like all those years just disappear and you talk and you just have fun. I was lucky enough with Mark and Johnny Holden to do Call Me Sister Your Life and catch up with other people, sadly these days, usually at funerals.
Yes, so that is the sad. But today we're here celebrating the 45th anniversary. Like, how cool is that? Amazing. Thank you so much, Chris. I know you have to go, but thank you so much
for
your patience.
I won't surprise everyone, I'm working.
Bye, Chris. Thank
Lots
you.
of love, Chris.
Susie, back to you, and thank you for your patience there. Can you share with us about your character and your time on the show?
That's all right. Thank you.
Hey, Chris, we can still hear you.
Hi there. Yes, so I was introduced as a few characters, actually. I was in the first episode, it was the pilot episode, actually. I was the naughty babysitter, basically, who then Michael Beecher, or Dr. Dennis, his son, babysitting his son, and let the son get run over. It seems like the show had a lot of people get hit by a bus or a truck.
What's going on there?
But I was basically very irresponsible as the babysitter. And then Stacey, my first daughter, Chris and I had our first daughter while the show was filming, and she was brought in as the kidnapped baby of Tim and Annie, lovely Tim and Annie's character. So while Stacey was on the show, obviously I was on the set, so they introduced me just to be a nurse while I was there. And then the last character I played was to basically spice up the show. I think we were in year 6 of the show, and the ratings were dropping a little bit. They wanted to spice it up a little bit, even though it was 6 o'clock. And so I played this character called Zoe Sheridan, who was basically a stripper. I didn't strip at 6 o'clock in the evening, but she jumped out of a cake for Dr. Denham again, his birthday. And she was a friend of a nurse, played by Christine, I forget her last name now, but she was a regular character in the show. So I was on the show and actually had the pleasure of doing a lot of scenes with Chris, who was the orderly. Zoe was a bit of a fun character and liked to flirt with everyone. She never got with anybody, but had some scenes with Chris, which were interesting because Chris was married to Kim Rand at the time on the show. And, my character was to sort of egg him on and, try to get with him. And he says, oh, I'm a happily married man. But, it was a lot of fun. And, but as everyone has said here today, it was an amazing show, amazing friendships on the show. I was on the set, not just in the guest roles, but to visit and as well. And it was just such a lovely atmosphere, even though it was quite primitive, the studio and all the problems with that. But it was just a lovely, lovely place to work. So, yeah.
Wonderful. And that's a running theme with all of the cast, is that everybody just loved the atmosphere and the experience of being on the show. It was like a privilege to have it in your acting career. It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so
much. It's nice to see everyone here too. Who would have thought we'd be 45 years later, looking at each other and saying, I know you, hi Joe.
Hi Susie.
I just wanted to catch up with, hello. Wanted to catch up with Joe, I think it was last year or the year before, maybe just before COVID.
Just before COVID. Yeah.
Joe's up in the Blue Mountains, and we were heading that way, and wanted to catch up. It didn't quite work that day, but hopefully we'll get to see each other soon.
It'll take two.
It will happen. It will happen. If you want to stay on after we're finished recording, you're welcome to catch up with everyone behind the scenes. We're going to leave the room open for you guys. But we've just got one more person to go to, I believe. Diana, we have spoken to you, haven't we? Yes. And Lisa. Diana, are you there?
I think
Yeah, I'm here. You've spoken to me.
Yeah,
we to Lisa.
Yeah, it's Lisa. Lisa, how are you going? Lisa, you were Nurse Julie Holland on the show.
Yes, so I had done. I did. Am I on?
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah.
Okay. So I had done I was in the opening episode of Prisoner. I was the first person to die in Prisoner, and about 6 weeks later, I got a call from my agent. I was in real life working as a cadet journalist at the Herald in Melbourne. And my agent rang up and said, Grundys want to write you into Young Doctors. What do you reckon? So I said yes. I didn't tell anyone at work for a few days. I was too scared. But then I became the first cadet in Melbourne newspaper history to resign, and I went to Sydney and had the best job of my life. It was just so much fun. It's a little bit sad at whatever age I am now to think that probably my career highlight was when I was 20, but there you go. And the one thing I remember when we talk about the hours we worked, yes, we started very early, but in summer, the cameras in the studio were being used for World Series cricket. So we had, regardless of what was happening, we had to finish by 2:00 on Friday so they could take all the cameras out to the cricket grounds.
Hey, 2:00 on a Friday. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Early knockoff.
So there were no second takes. There were no if you buggered your lines up, we just had to keep going.
You had to swear to get a second take.
You did?
Yes. That's true. And we often did deliberately just so that you could get a second take.
Yeah, true professionals you all are. Really impressed. But we have got to know everybody now. But just before we go, because we have obviously went over time, which was to be expected. But Aly has a question for everybody. She's going to throw it out onto the floor. This is where the hand raising kind of bit comes in.
I think honestly, what your current fans, your previous fans, and your future fans would like to know is if you had the opportunity to do a comeback show together, would you do it?
Oh, in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh,
there we
have it.
I think we need to start a movement then in that case, and it begins right here on IPL, Inspiring Passionate Lives with you
Deanna's
guys.
got her hand up there. Deanna, share. Deanna?
And if we get residuals this time.
Oh, only if you get residuals. Oh, can I be suggestive? You know, as a publisher, maybe you should all get together and do a 45th anniversary book. You know, I'm a publisher. You can come my way, no problem. There's an idea.
Sounds like a great idea.
Yay!
Fantastic.
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
It would be so fun, guys.
The big
why not Young Doctors?
Absolutely, Diana, and you get royalties, I promise.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much to everyone for joining us. Thank you, and I'm sure that you want to say a big thank you to all of your, to everyone who's been watching the show over the years, and to share it with their families. You know, share it with the next generation who's coming through.
Share the love.
Thank you,
Thank you so much.
So
Guys, if you want to keep
Thank
talking to each other, stay where you are. Tris will organise that. But thank you so much, everyone. And everyone, yes, we're just going to go ahead and put some music on. You guys stay there if you want to stay on, okay? Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.